ATC request page is used to communicate various flight operation requests via the CPDLC connection. Each request option, such as altitude, VMC descent, and speed, uses specific subpages to implement the request. Altitude requests can be made for single or block altitudes. Single altitudes are specific, whereas block altitudes refer to a range or block of altitudes. Consequently, altitude requests will be made from either the ATC Request Altitude Single or ATC Request Altitude Block page. From the ATC Request page, press Altitude, enter the desired altitude, and then press Enter. This table shows what fields are required and what fields are optional, as well as the default values. Press Climb to toggle between Normal and Cruise as applicable. When the AT field is selected, the Climb option will automatically set to Normal. CPDLC does not allow an altitude request at a position or time to involve a cruise climb. You have the option to select when you will start your climb. Press AT and then select the appropriate line select key to enter information for fix, navaid, airport, time, lat long, or place bearing distance, abbreviated as PBD. I will enter a time here. The display will return to the ATC Request Altitude page. Notice how our cruise climb was automatically changed back to normal. Press Do To toggle between weather, aircraft performance, or none as your reason for climbing. The default is none. Press At Pilot Discretion to toggle between yes and no to indicate altitude change at the crew's discretion. The default is no. Press Own Separation VMC to toggle between yes and no to indicate whether traffic separation will be maintained by the crew per VMC rules, or separation will be under ATC control. The default for this field is no. Press Review. If you had failed to enter data in the altitude field, this pop-up window will appear. You have the option to press Free Text and enter any additional information as needed. When ready, press Send to put the altitude request in queue for transmission. From the ATC Request page, press Altitude. The ATC Request Altitude Single page will display. To request a block altitude, press Block. Here is the table we just saw. However, the Climb and AT fields do not apply for a block altitude request. With altitude active, enter one end of a desired altitude range and press Enter. Then, enter the other end of the desired altitude range and press Enter. Press Do To toggle between weather, aircraft performance, or none as applicable. Then press At Pilot Discretion to indicate whether or not the altitude change is at the crew's discretion. Next, press Own Separation VMC to indicate whether traffic separation will be maintained by the crew per VMC rules, or separation will be under ATC control. Once this page is complete, press Review. If no data was entered in the altitude or To fields, the pop-up window Data Required will display. Press Free Text if you want to enter any additional information. Notice that the Send option has no arrow. You are not done reviewing the request until you review all of the pages, so press Next. Once all of the information has been reviewed, press Send to put the altitude request in queue for transmission. The Request VMC Descent page is used to request a crew-controlled descent under VMC flight rules. To make a VMC request, press VMC Descent, and the ATC Review page will display. Press Free Text and enter text as needed regarding the descent request. Press Send to place the message in queue for transmission. Speed requests can be made for single or block speeds. Single speeds are specific, whereas block speeds refer to a speed range or block. Consequently, speed requests will be made from either the ATC Request Speed single or ATC Request Speed block pages. Press Speed on the ATC Request page. With Speed active, enter a desired speed. Press Do To toggle between Weather, Aircraft Performance, or None as applicable. The default is None. Press Review. If no data was entered in the speed field, this pop-up window will display. Press Free Text to enter any additional information as needed. Text is limited to 24 characters on this page, meaning the text will not wrap to the next line. Press Send to put the speed request in queue for transmission. From the ATC Request page, press Speed. The ATC Request Speed single page will display. To request a speed block, press Block. Enter both the bottom and top limits to the speed block. Press Do To toggle between Weather, Aircraft Performance, or None as applicable. The default is None. Press Review. If no data was entered in the Speed or To fields, the pop-up window Data Required will display. Press Free Text and enter information as needed. Text is again limited to 24 characters on this page. Press Send to put the altitude request in queue for transmission. ATC clearance requests are made using the ATC Review page. To request ATC clearance, press Clearance. Press Free Text to enter request information. Text is limited to 24 characters on the page and will not wrap to the next line. Press Send, line select key 4 right, to put the request into queue for transmission. The ATC route request pages are used to submit ATC requests. Type of routing include Direct To, Heading, and Track on page 1. On page 2 are the procedural requests, Arrival, Approach, and Departure procedures. Direct To, Track, Heading, and Procedures are all mutually exclusive. If data is entered into one of these fields, entry of data in another field prior to sending the request will eliminate the previous field entry. To make a Direct To route request, press DTO. Press the appropriate line select key to enter information for fix, navigate, airport, lat long, or place bearing distance, and then press Enter. The display will return to the ATC Request-Route page 1, showing the entered information at the DTO option. If applicable, press Do To toggle between None, Weather, and Aircraft Performance. Press Review. If desired, press Free Text to add any additional information for the Direct To request. This is optional. Press Send to put the request into queue for transmission. To make a heading or ground track route request, press Heading or Track as needed. Enter the desired heading or ground track. Entry of a number will result in a magnetic degree value. Entry of a number followed by the letter T will result in a true degree value. If applicable, press Do To toggle between Weather, Aircraft Performance, or None. Review your entries. If no data was entered in the heading or track fields, the pop-up window Data Required will display. If needed, press Free Text to enter additional information. This field is optional. Press Send to put the request into queue for transmission. To make a procedure request, you must go to page 2 of the ATC Request-Route pages. Once there, select Procedure Name and enter the desired procedure's name using up to 6 alphanumeric characters. Press Procedure Type to toggle between Departure, Arrival, and Approach. Next, if there is a transition, enter its name using up to 5 alphanumeric characters. If applicable, press Do To toggle between Weather, Aircraft Performance, or None. As always, press Review. If no data was entered in the procedure name or type, the pop-up window Data Required will display. Press Free Text and enter additional information as needed. Press Send to put the request in queue for transmission. An offset request involves specifying to ATC a direction and a lateral distance, or offset, from the desired track. To request an offset, enter either L for left or R for right, and then the distance in nautical miles you wish to offset your course. If you enter the distance first and then the direction, Unilink will remind you of the proper format. Offset distances must be between 1 and 128 nautical miles. The Universal Avionics FMS has a maximum offset of 99.9 nautical miles. It is recommended that offsets beyond 25 nautical miles of the original route be avoided. Greater offsets may cause ETAs in the ATSC reports to exceed the 3-minute error tolerance requirement. Press AT and then the appropriate line select key to enter information for fix, navaid, airport, time, lat long, or place bearing distance. When you press Enter, the display will return to the ATC Request Offset page showing the information just entered. AT is an optional field. Press Do To toggle between Weather, Aircraft Performance, or None. Press Review. If no data was entered in the offset field, the pop-up window Data Required will display. Press Free Text and enter text as needed. Otherwise, press Send to put the offset request in queue for transmission. If no valid entry is made at the AT option and the value of Do To is Weather, the ATC review page will indicate the following. The ATC Request Voice Contact page is used to request voice communications with ATC on a specific frequency or channel. To make a voice contact request, press the associated line select key for VHF, HF, UHF, or SAT and enter the appropriate frequency or channel. A valid entry at any of the line select keys will invalidate or remove the entry at any other line select key made previously. Press Review. If desired, press Free Text to enter text as needed. Text is limited to 24 characters on this page and will not wrap. Press Send to put the voice contact request in queue for transmission. CPDLC negotiation requests, or ATC Expect, are used as a follow-up to previous altitude, speed, or route requests made to ATC, if ATC has not responded in a timely manner. To create an altitude negotiation request, press Altitude. There are 2 ways to indicate altitude for the ATC Expect altitude request. You can enter a specific altitude. If ascending, you can also indicate the type of climb. Review your request, and if desired, add additional text. Press Send to place in the queue for transmission. The second type of altitude request is general, where the altitude change can be identified as either higher or lower without the specific altitude indicated. For this type of request, the climb will be normal. Review your request, and if desired, add additional text. Press Send to place in the queue for transmission. Like altitudes, speed requests can be for either a single speed or a block of speeds. Let's enter a single speed first. Just enter your requested speed and then press Review. You can add free text if needed. This page has a limit of 24 characters and the text will not wrap. Press Send to put the speed negotiation request into queue for transmission. To enter a range of speeds, press Block. With speed active, enter the bottom of the desired speed range. In the To field, enter the top of the desired speed range. And of course, press Review. Add text if needed. Press Send to put the speed negotiation request into queue for transmission. To ask when you can expect to be back en route is very simple. Just press Back en route and this page will appear. You can add text if desired, limited to 24 characters. Press Send to place your request into queue for transmission.